مرحبا. اليوم نكمل الجزء الثاني من مناظرة أو حوار سام هاريس مع جوردان بيترسون، اللي هو طبعا يعني كان في مجمله عن كتاب سام هاريس اللي هو اسمه المنظر الأخلاقي أو The Moral Landscape. طبعا احنا أمس يعني احنا تقريبا شرحنا أو يعني تابعنا مع بعض أول ساعة وربع تقريبا. اليوم سنكمل الباقي تقريبا حوالي 50 دقيقة. والمناظرة مثل يعني ما تعرفون أو هي مترجمة طبعا، ولو في أي شيء يعني يحتاج إلى شرح سوف نقوم بشرحه. أوكي، إذن فلنبدأ.
Well, I would worry much less about them, obviously. I mean, and that's why I don't treat all religions equally. I mean, they're religions I literally never think about because I'm not seeing the daily casualties of those belief systems. So,
but you say that as people get away from fundamental versions of these things, and I'm not advocating for fundamentalism here, but you say yourself, as people get away from the fundamental versions of these things tend to go haywire. And so, in essence, what you're saying is that as
they
people
tend to go haywire in what sense?
Oh, I thought I was interpreting
multiplicity of interpretations.
Right.
Well, yeah, but so people are in
That's
people
the
are in
moral
search of
relativism
better
problem.
heuristics. I think the pressure is.
طبعا هذا المقدم ما أدري ليش جايبينه أنا بصراحة، يعني أسئلته أولا ما تنفهم لا للجمهور ولا لسام هاريس ولا يعني ما أدري، ما يتكلم بطريقة مباشرة. هو من عارف شو أن الابتعاد عن الأصولية. يا أخي خليك واضح، استغفر الله. العموم هو سؤاله يعني كأنه يقول لي سام هاريس يعني إذا المتدينين ابتعدوا عن أصل الدين أو جوهر الدين تبدأ المشاكل ويبدأ القتل ويبدأ الظلم ويبدأ التفسير المختلف للنصوص. لكن كل ما يقترب المتدينين من الجوهر يكونون أفضل. وطبعا هذا كلام فارغ كله. الإسلام يعني أكبر دليل إنه كل ما تقترب أنت إلى الأصولية تزداد عنفا ووحشية. سؤال أهبل بصراحة.
Some of these heuristics are obviously so bad that there's civilizational pressure to find better interpretations and
but you said that the fundamentalists have an advantage.
Yeah.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا
because if you just go back to the text and say, listen, I want to understand what these words mean, right? You get at the first pass the quote literal interpretation, right? And you're not bringing any armamentarium you've got.
على فكرة هنا في الترجمة يعني هو يقول له ما أنت لن تحضر armamentarium. لم تترجم armamentarium، كتبوها مثل ما هي armamentarium. أنا طلعت الترجمة تبعها يعني أما أن تكون أنت أتيت بأدوات سابقة، قصده يعني تهيلي أدوات فكرية واستخدمتها في التفسير الجديد. وأيضا armamentarium تأتي بمعنى عتاد أو ذخيرة قديمة، يعني تقريبا هذا المعنى.
From the outside, from other parts of culture, to parse the text. You're just trying to, if it's in English and you speak English, you're just trying to decode the words, right? And when it says, if the girl's not a virgin on her wedding night, take her to her father's doorstep and stone her to death. That you know what stone means, you know what girl means, you know what father means, and you're 90% there to an obvious atrocity.
يعني هناك طبعا الظاهر أنه استدل سام هاريس بأحد الآيات في الكتاب المقدس، أنه إذا فتاة تزوجت ويوم عرسها لم يجدوها عذراء، فمن حق العريس أن يأخذ الامرأة هذه أو زوجته إلى باب بيت أبوها ويرجمها أمام باب بيت أبوها إلى الموت. فيقول له يعني نص مثل هذا واضح، لا يحتاج إلى فزلكة، يعني فزلكة وطلعة ونزلة، ما يحتاج إلى تفسيرات من تفسيرات الأصدقاء القرآنيين، يعني إنه ما معنى رجم وما معنى عذراء، فسر لي كلمة عذراء، اشرح لي، يعني ما أدري. يعني هو هذا في الأخير، هو بالأول سام هاريس قال نحن لولا هذه الأديان لما نكون نحن الآن محصورين أنا وأنت يتكلم مع جوردان بيترسون، وقاعدين نضيع وقتنا على حوار من من الرابع عشر. بدل ما نتكلم في حوار عن القرن 21 ما زلنا محصورين ونتكلم في حوار قديم وبالي وما منا أي فائدة.
I get the horror of it, and
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
But the basic point is to say that the fundamentalists have an advantage is to acknowledge something functional.
يا أخي ما قال الكلام هذا، أنت ليش ممل؟
Stories which I'm claiming are going to be some kind
ممل
of
الرجل هذا، لا حول
evolutionary
ولا.
heuristic for living a life. Doesn't make them defensible.
They have an advantage. It's not an advantage that. It's an advantage. It's a mimetic advantage. It's an advantage. ISIS has the advantage when the people who share their interpretation of Islam. They have, it's why someone like Anwar al-Awlaki could make YouTube videos that so many people found compelling. It's because it's totally straightforward. It's like the advantage is, listen, there's a lot of people spending a lot of time lying to you about what these books mean and what the prophet and how he lived.
يعني هنا أعطى مثال واضح جدا، دحض كل سؤاله يعني السخيف. قال الإسلام، داعش، أنور العولقي، هذا كانوا ناس جدا مباشرين وطبقوا حرفيا ما مكتوب هو في الكتب المقدسة، والناس صدقوهم لأنهم مباشرين، لا يتفزلكوا ولا يقعدوا يلعبوا على الكلمات. لذلك كان تأثيرهم قوي، خصوصا الناس الذين يؤمنون بالتفسير السلفي المباشر.
Right. You know in your heart that my interpretation of this is correct. You just read the words, right? And there's a strength in that. There's an honesty in that. It's clear when it says sacrifice a goat. Goat means goat, right? Like you don't have to do something else to make.
لا، غلطان سام هاريس. عند القرآنيين الجوت مش جوت، الماعز ليس ماعزا والنساء لسنا نساء، والمادري شو ليس مادري شو، وأقطع ليست أقطع، وأقتل ليست أقتل.
A goat mean having nothing to do with goat, right? And so that it's an asymmetric war of if you're going to try to make your dogmas more and more palatable by importing stuff that clearly was never even in the worldview of anyone who birthed these religions, you're not doing that because you want to live even more by God's word. No, you found some of God's words unacceptable, right? And every fundamentalist can sniff that out, and they're right to sniff it out because it is in fact the motivation.
Okay, good. So I think we've got a tenuous kind of agreement that there might be some kind of utility that utility might be morally questionable sometimes.
يا أخي هذا ثقيل دم. الرجال ضحط سؤالك، يقول له ربما يوجد نوع من الاستفادة، وهذه الاستفادة قد تكون أخلاقيا مدعاة للتساؤل بعض الأحيان. استغفر، هذا الرجال قرآني أنا متأكد صراحة.
But that there is some reason that people would resort to a fundamental, simple interpretation, because as they depart from that interpretation, things get more difficult and it creates some kind of disadvantage.
Well, part of the problem with that would be that as you move away from the text, you fractionate the moral belief system and you end up with a nihilistic situation. So as you move away from dogmatism, you move towards the parallel danger, which is moral relativism and nihilism. And so
شوف هذا ايش قاعد يقول إذا ابتعدت عن الدوغما أو العقائدية فأنت قد تنحرف إلى النسبية الأخلاقية والعدمية. طيب يعني كلامك فارغ، وكل الدول العلمانية الآن يعني تثبت إنه كلامك خطأ. العدمية، قال لك عدمية. طيب يعني احتمال العدمية تدعوك إلى أنك يعني تركز أكثر لتطور حياتك وتنتج حياة مزدهرة مثل اللي موجودة الآن في أوروبا وأمريكا والدول هذه. هؤلاء هل هم عدميون؟ حتى لو كانوا عدميون لكن إنتاجهم رائع بصراحة، إنتاجهم مزدهر. هم الذين ينتجون في هذه الدنيا، غير عن العقائديين المتدينين الذين لا ينتجون شيئا. حتى الآن عندما يحصل وباءات في العالم من ينتج غير الدول العدمية هذه اللي تقول عنها أنت. طبعا الإنسان ما عنده غير هذه الحياة، إذا لم يهتم بهذه الحياة وينتج ويضع كل طاقته في هذه الحياة، أين يضعها؟ بعد ما يتحلل يصير دود؟ يقول لك لا هذه عدمية. بالعكس، التفكير الديني هو العدمي، هو الذي يدعو إلى ما بعد الموت، إلى العدم. هو يتصور أن هناك شيء بعد الموت، لكن في الحقيقة لا شيء بعد الموت، فقط العدم. ويضع كل تفكيره وتركيزه وآماله وكل طاقة التفكيرية وطاقة العلمية في الآخرة، ويهمل الدنيا. وأنتم ترون الآن كل الدول الدينية حالتها يعني يرثى لها، بينما الدول العلمانية التي يدعون أنهم عدميين شوف التطور والإنتاج والثروات والازدهار اللي عندهم. حتى في الدول المتقدمة تلاقي ناس مثل هذولا يقولون كلام فارغ.
hopefully you can find some balance. So let me ask you.
No, I want to ask you a question.
Oh yes, okay.
لا إله.
Yeah. And also, what time do we actually stop this part?
We
'Cause
have
it's
والله
10.
يا ريت
I
نوقف
just
الآن.
missed the time card, but I think we have another couple of minutes. Okay. So
There's no objective reality to time, I think.
Actually, it's a pretty good conversation we could have. But
Okay.
So here's my question for you: is if we agree that there is some way in which religious texts carry some kind of value because they allow people to figure out how to navigate their lives in ways that might reduce suffering, reduce the complexity of the choices that they have to make. Presumably, you will agree that that would be consistent with an evolutionary interpretation, that the fact that the stories themselves are functional would provide an advantage to those who were deploying them.
Yes.
So here's the problem. Isn't it then also true that those stories are responsive to past environments? And so the claim that these things might be timeless would be suspect. And in fact, you would expect a spectrum of durability. Some stories would be right in a brief moment and Okay.
All that's true.
All that's true.
So far, so
هذا
good.
الشيء يريد
Well,
هذا.
so far so good. This is actually, I think, quite excellent then, because what we have is a recognition that there is something to these belief systems that has to do with practical realities in the past, and we also have an acknowledgement that we cannot trust in these things based on
يا أخي اخلص،
simple
ما طلع
faith,
سؤال
because
هذا.
even if they can be certain to have worked at some point in the past, we don't know what their relevance is to the present.
Right.
Fuck me.
Okay.
هذا كله سؤال.
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay. So I would say that's two things about that. That's exactly why we're having this discussion. And you see what happens in the most profound of such texts is the idea that the process by which your knowledge is updated has to occupy a position in the hierarchy of values that supersedes your reliance on dogma is the fundamental claim. That's why, for example, in Christianity, the notion is that the word is the highest of values. And that's the embodied word. And that's the thing that mediates between order and chaos. And everything else has to be subject to that. And I would say that's not a claim that's unique to Christianity. So, for example,
Okay, I think because we're being told we're out of time here, so I want to give Sam his reaction to that as well, and then we'll move on to Q&A.
يا أخي الرجال ما كمل كلامه، يعني مش الآن كلامه بدأ يعطي معنى، يعني يقول إنه هرم القيم الإنساني، طبعا هذا هو ألف من عنده هرم القيم، إنه هناك تراتبية، وأنه أعلى شيء هي الكلمة، والكلمة هي طبعا عيسى، والكلمة هذه مجسدة طبعا في جسد عيسى، وهي متوسطة ما بين الفوضى والعدم، الفوضى والنظام. سوري، إجا هذا قطع كلامه. منين جابوا هذا أنا ما أدري.
Well, I'm tempted to just ask Jordan a question here. I mean, it's hard to know what to save for tomorrow night, but I feel like we've got 3,000 people sitting here who would really like an answer to this question.
الآن هذا أحلى سؤال في المناظرة كلها. طبعا هم المفروض هناك جزء ثاني، طبعا حوار آخر استكملوا فيه هذا الحوار، وهذا الحوار كان المفروض يكون ساعة فقط، وبعد الساعة يتم هناك يعني مثل الأسئلة، يأخذون أسئلة من الجمهور ويجاوبون عليها. لكن من كثر ما الحوار يعني صار شيق، الجمهور قال ما نريد الأسئلة، خليهم يكملون، خلي يكملوا الساعتين كلهم هم في الحوار، وإحنا ما نريد أسئلة. لكن أسمعوا سؤال سام هاريس هنا.
You say you believe in God. You have been...
No, I say I act as if he exists.
You say what?
I say I act as if he exists,
Okay,
which is a much more precise claim.
Okay, so then what, but in this case...
كيف؟ هو قال له أنت تؤمن بالله؟ قال له أنا I act like he exists، يعني أنا أتصرف كأنه هو موجود. ما أدري يعني هل هذا نوع جديد من الإلحاد؟ ما أدري، أنا أتصرف كأن الله موجود، كأنه. طب هل الله موجود ولا كأنه؟ هناك فرق كبير. ما أدري.
So you act as though God exists.
Yeah.
And in addition, I've heard you say that I act as though God exists, that I can't really be an atheist.
So far it seems that.
Right, yeah.
We'll see.
The night is young.
Yeah.
قال له إذا أنت تتصرف كأن الله موجود، وأنا تقريبا نفس الشيء، إذا أنا ماني ملحد يعني أنا مثلك. فقال لهم الليلة لسه طويلة، يعني النقاش راح يستمر أكثر وأكثر الظاهر.
So in that sense, I'm not really an atheist. I've heard you say this. So that
Well, some of you is.
well, if I were really an atheist, I would be far more poorly behaved than in fact I am. Right? I would be like Raskolnikov committing murders and assuming there was nothing wrong with it.
It would be more likely, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So.
يا سلام. يعني إذا أردت أن تكون ملحد يجب أن تكون قاتلا. هذا قصد جوردان بيترسون. إذا عندك أخلاق لست ملحدا، بما أن تتجرد من كل الأخلاق ستصبح ملحدا فعلا. هذا كلام فارغ. يعني حتى المتدينين عندما يمتلكون القوة يشيعون في الأرض فسادا ويهلكون الحرث والنسل. أين الفارق هنا؟ يا ما شفنا ناس متدينين، يعني هذول العثمانيين مثلا كان مو بس يقتل العالم والأرمن، كان يقتل كل ما خليفة يطلع يقتل أخوانه، يلزم أخوانه واحد واحد ويا أولادهم يذبحهم واحد واحد، وهذا مؤمن ومسلم ويصلي كل يوم 5 صلوات، وإمبراطور دولة الخلافة العثمانية. هل هذا ما عنده أخلاق، ما عنده دين؟ لا عنده. لكن الإنسان عندما يملك القوة يتجرد من الأخلاق بكل سهولة. ما أدري، هذا بدأت أغير رأيي بجوردان بيترسون هذا.
So
wait, that's a big distinction.
I need to know.
Be more likely.
What was that?
It's a big distinction. That you would is very different than it would be more likely. Taking the safety off the gun is not the same thing as shooting it, right?
Yeah.
The temptations laid open to Raskolnikov would be more at hand.
Okay.
Just as they were to him.
So in what sense do you mean, what is the God that you act as though he, she, it exists? And what is the God-shaped thing I must have in my life to prevent me from being a quote real atheist?
Well, okay. First of all, I have to point out that there's no possible way I can answer both those questions in 2 minutes.
Well, it's the same question. I mean,
yeah,
what do you mean by God?
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I mean by God. Okay.
يسأل ما هو تعريف الإله عندك؟ هذا جاب لي لابتوب طبعا، هذا جد بيترسون، وقاعد يطلع يمكن 4-5 تعريفات كلها لا تمت صلة إلى الأديان والكتب المقدسة.
We do have to get the questions.
Maybe we're going to do this tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe this is where we start. Oh, God. Well, that was a pretty resounding no.
It seems like that constitutes an audience question, wouldn't you say?
All right. I tell you what. Let's... Let's do this, but let's be deliberate about time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read some things that I wrote because it's so complicated that I'm not sure that I can just spin it off the top of my head, and so you'll have to excuse me. So, and what I'm going to do is sort of paint a picture by highlighting different things. So now I already made one point here. I made the point that part of the conception of God that underlies the Western ethos is the notion that whatever God is expressed in the truthful speech that rectifies pathological hierarchies. And that isn't all it does. It also confronts the chaos of being itself and generates habitable order. That's the metaphysical proposition. And that's best conceptualized as at least one element of God. And so I would think about it as a transcendent reality that's only observable across the longest of time frames, the longest of iterated time frames, to your point. So here's some propositions, and they're complicated and they need to be unpacked. So I'm just going to read them, and that'll have to do for the time being. So God is how we imaginatively and collectively represent the existence and action of consciousness across time, as the most real aspects of existence manifest themselves across the longest of time frames, but are not necessarily apprehensible as objects in the here and now. So what that means in some sense is that you have conceptions of reality built into your biological and metaphysical structure that are a consequence of processes of evolution that occurred over unbelievably vast expanses of time, and that structure your perception of reality in ways that it wouldn't be structured if you only lived for the amount of time that you're going to
كل هذا تعريف الإله ساتر.
live. And that's also part of the problem of deriving values from facts, because you're evanescent and you can't derive the right values from the facts that portray themselves to you in your lifespan, which is why you have a biological structure that's like 3.5 billion years old. So God is that which eternally dies and is reborn in the pursuit of higher being and truth. That's a fundamental element of hero mythology. God is the highest value in the hierarchy of values. That's another way of looking at it. God is what calls and what responds in the eternal call to adventure. God is the voice of conscience. God is the source of judgment and mercy and guilt. God is the future to which we make sacrifices, and something akin to the transcendental repository of reputation. Here's a cool one if you're an evolutionary biologist. God is that which selects among men in the eternal hierarchy of men. So, men arrange themselves into hierarchies, and then men rise in the hierarchy. And there's principles.
كلامه سكسست يعني men. طب وين الومن؟ لا، هو عبارة عن هرم من الرجال وهو يختار الرجل، ما لم يذكر النساء يعني. وهذا طبعا typical religious.
Principles that are important that determine the probability of their rise, and those principles aren't tyrannical power. They're something like the ability to articulate truth and the ability to be competent and the ability to make appropriate moral judgments. And if you can do that in a given situation, then all the other men will vote you up the hierarchy, so to speak, and that will radically increase your reproductive fitness. And the operation of that process across long expanses of time looks to me like it's codified in something like the notion of God the Father. It's also the same.
هذا نفس تفسير الأحقية الإلهية للملوك، عندما الملك يعني ادعوا طبعا في القرون الوسطى أن الملك هو معين من قبل الإله، يعني تقريبا نفس شرحه اللي هو دي يشرح، يعني هو أنه الرجل يبدأ بالصعود من أسفل إلى أعلى حسب التراتبية إلى أن يصل إلى مرحلة يكون اتصاله بالله مباشرة، وفي الأخير هو يتحول إلى الله. يعني تقريبا الملك والله شيء واحد، هذا قصده.
Thing that makes men attractive to women, because women peel off the top of the male hierarchy, and the question is what should be at the top of the hierarchy, and the answer right now is tyranny as part of the patriarchy, but the real answer is something more like the ability to use truthful speech in the service of, let's say, well-being. And so that's something that operates across tremendous expanses of time. and it plays a role in the selection for survival itself, which makes it a fundamental reality.
Jordan, if I can I just cut in here with one question.
Stop with that for now.
What So I was not hearing in that list of attributes a God who could care if anyone masturbated.
لا أفهمه. يعني يقول لك كل الكلام الجميل والتعريفات المثالية اللي أنت سمعتنا إياها، لم نسمع عن الإله الذي يعذبني عندما أستمني مثلا. أين هو في تعريفاتك هذه؟ أو الذي سيحرقني فقط لأشياء سخيفة.
I was not hearing a God who...
Depends on what else is stopping you from doing, Sam.
Well, sorry, I missed that.
I said it depends on what else it's stopping you from doing.
Well, yeah, okay. So it's
but
important to live. It's important to do something other than masturbate.
Yes. Yes, which actually constitutes a problem for many people.
Which is harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
وحاول يتفزلك طبعا هذا جوردان بيترسون، يعني قال له أين الإله الذي يعذبني عندما أستمني؟ قال له اعتمد على الأشياء التي منعتك أن تستمني. قال له طبعا هناك أكيد أشياء أهم من أني أستمني ستمنعني، لكن بالأخير سأصل لمرحلة أنه الاستمناء سيصبح أهم شيء أعمله، يعني أهم من كل شيء آخر. يعني
I'm not hearing a God, a personal God who can possibly hear anyone's prayers, much less answer them, right? And I'm wondering what percentage of religious people who would say, "Oh yeah, I believe in God and it's the most important thing in my life." What percentage of those religious people do you think have in mind a God of the sort you just described?
I don't know, Sam. It's a good question, because when I go talk to people, when I talk to people online and use exactly this terminology, millions of people listen. So it's not so obvious what percentage of people see it this way. It may be that they have the intuitions, but they haven't been articulated well.
I mean, this is the problem. This is what worries me about this. So, yeah, I mean, you could do the same thing with the idea of ghosts, right? So people traditionally have believed in ghosts. It's an archetype, you might say, the ghost. Survival of death is certainly an archetype. And we know what most people most of the time mean when they say they believe in ghosts. And I say, I don't believe in ghosts. And you say, no, you do believe in ghosts. Ghosts are your relationship to the unseen. That's a ghost. So you have a new definition of ghost that you're putting in the place provided, which I have to say, well, of course I have a relationship to the unseen, so yeah, I guess I do believe in ghosts. You know, you win that argument. But that simply isn't what most people mean by a ghost. Most people
but you
mean...
can't use that simplified argument about my conception of ghosts as an analogy for the propositions that I just put forward.
This is what I see you do. I mean, maybe you have more to say on the topic of God, but this is what I hear you doing with God. You have defined the God that most people believe in, and we know this is the God that most people believe in.
I was asked what God I believed in.
Yes, no, but I'm asking you what percentage. Yes, but you by shifting the definition, you have robbed the noun, the traditional noun, of its traditional meaning, and you're imparting to people
Hey,
a
wait
sense.
wait a second. Wait a second.
I'm
people.
not so
What do
sure
you
of
mean
this.
by traditional meaning? Look, it's one of the elemental claims in the
من الناس صفقوا سام هاريس لأنه كل تعريفاته هذه يعني بيقول أنه هو تقريبا نزع الإله من معناه الحقيقي أو معناه التقليدي. يعني إذا كل واحد بدأ يحط تعريف من مخه للإله، إذا كل واحد بيؤمن بإله مختلف عن الآخر. أين الإله الذي أتت به وشرحته الكتب المقدسة نفسها؟ أين هو؟ هذا هو المعنى التقليدي، هذا هو المعنى الأصلي للإله وكل الصفات التي رسمته له الكتب المقدسة. إذا كل واحد راح يجي ويعمل لي إله سبينوزا من عنده من مخه، يعمل إله سبينوزا خاص بي، هذا ما صار إيمان، هذا صار شيء آخر. ما أدري، هو ربوبية، هو نوع جديد من الأديان. إنك تلغي الإله اللي موجود في الكتب المقدسة وتخترع إله من مخيلتك أنت. فهو هنا جوردان بيترسون بيحاول يدافع عن وجهة نظره.
Old Testament is that you're not even supposed to utter the name of God, because by defining it too tightly, you lose its essence. And so let's not be talking about what the classical definition of God is here, okay? It's a historical non-starter.
Okay,
and there's plenty of
Hold on.
religions that make it...
Can I check in with the audience? Is the audience all right with us continuing down this road?
Yeah. Okay.
So, can I jump in here?
You're sacrificing your Q&A.
So, yeah, that it is at the expense of Q&A. That's what you're giving up.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably worth it. So, let me say, Sam, I do not believe in a supernatural God. But the God that I heard Jordan just describe, I do not have any difficulty understanding why he might care if you masturbate. And I also don't have any trouble figuring out how he might answer prayers.
Well, tell me more then.
يعني أنا هذا الرجل مو طايقه أبدا. ما أدري شو يريد. هو أنت إيش فهمت من إله جوردن يعني عشان تقول إنه ما أدري. شوف سام هاريس راح يفهم الآن.
Well, I can tell you how a prayer might be answered.
Okay, but these are
It's specific, so you could let me do that.
So it'll be interesting. So I'm not Jordan. We've not talked about this. If I heard an answer from him that actually would satisfy me as to what the mechanism of action might be, that'd be pretty interesting. And if he can tell me what I heard, I think it would suggest that we're not just making up stories here.
Okay, so you might like this, maybe not, but well, it's possible. Okay, so imagine that. Okay, so let's imagine that hellish situation that you.
ما في الأديان شيء اسمه you might like it you might not. الأديان الإبراهيمية ما فيها شيء اسمه يعجبك، قد يعجبك وقد لا يعجبك. لا حبيبي، يعجبك غصب عنك، وإذا لم يعجبك قد تقتل في الدنيا، وإذا لم تقتل في الدنيا ستحرق في الآخرة. الأديان الإبراهيمية واضحة جدا يعني. ليش الفزلك؟ أنا مش فاهم.
Laid out. Okay, but let's put the extra twist in it, because one of the things that we both decided, I think, was that you also have to build in the intent into that. So let's say the hell that we're talking about isn't the victim of the terrible massacres that you laid out in the jungle story, but a perpetrator. Okay, so someone who's actually acted in a malevolent manner, truly malevolent manner. Okay. Or maybe perhaps we wouldn't have to take that extreme case. We could say, well, perhaps you've decided that any of you, you've decided that you've seriously done something wrong. Okay, and that you want to get away from hell. You want to make things better. Okay, so here's an exercise you can try. So here, what you do is you sit on the edge of your bed and you say, okay, what I did was wrong. And you have to really believe this, right? So you've thought about it. It's killing you. It's killing you. So now you're penitent and you're confessing, let's say. And you're confessing to yourself as much as to anyone. And you say, I really want to know what I did wrong. And I really want to know what I could do to put it right. And I'm willing to accept any answer that will manifest itself to me. You try that. See what happens.
Well,
That's a prayer that will be answered, and it won't be answered in the way that you want it to be answered. I can bloody well tell you that.
هذه السخافة. يقول له اقعد ومع نفسك وقل لنفسك يعني أنا في مأزق وأريد أي حل الآن يأتي ويتجلى أمامي لحل هذه المشكلة، وهذه الصلاة سوف تجاب. طب ما الفرق إذا صليت مع نفسي أو صليت لصنم مثلا؟ ما الفرق بيني وبين عبدة الأوثان؟ ما هم يسوون نفس الشيء. طب هذا قد يعتبر عصف ذهني، يعني بدل ما أسوي نفسي أني أصلي أقعد نايم وأقعد أفكر فقط، مجرد تفكير، وسيأتيني الحل من مخي. عقلي سوف يقترح حلا للمشكلة اللي أنا موجود بها. لماذا؟ يعني لا تحتاج إلى إضافة الطابع الديني للموضوع يعني.
Okay, but that.
Well, what are you communicating with? What are you communicating with when you do that?
No. That is something that is a process that I'm familiar with. It doesn't require any supernatural explanation, and it certainly doesn't require that we imagine that any of our books were dictated by the creator of the universe.
I didn't say that it required any supernatural explanation or that it required the book. I was asked to provide an instance of prayer that worked. That's what I did. I didn't do anything other than that.
That's fully understandable in terms of human psychology. And
it's not understandable because we don't know where the answer comes from.
Well, we don't know where anything comes from.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So.
يعني سام هاريس أفحمه ويقول له that's true. قال له يعني هو لما أسأل أنا لحل عن مشكلتي ويأتيني جواب لا أدري من أين أتى هذا الجواب، من عقلك جاء. سام هاريس قال له إحنا ما نعرف كل شيء في هذه الدنيا، لم نعرف من أين أتى. قال له صحيح. طيب يعني أنت ليش تدعي على أنه هذه الأشياء كلها أتت من الله إذن، وليس عندك إثبات ومصادرة على المطلوب؟
So, yeah, but that doesn't open the door. I mean, one thing we can know with absolute certainty is that whoever wrote the Bible didn't know either. And there's many other things he or she didn't know, like everything else we know scientifically, right?
It's not so obvious what people know.
No one even knew the brain was involved in any of this, right? So
yeah, but they probably knew about as much as we do about how the brain was involved in it.
But we
قال أصلا اللي كتبوا الإنجيل نفسه والكتب الدينية كلها لم يعرفوا أن المخ هو مصدر الأفكار اللي تأتينا، كانوا يعتقدون القلب، مثل ما جاء في طبعا في القرآن والخطأ هذا الفسيولوجي من أيام أرسطو كان موجود. أرسطو ارتكب هذا الخطأ، هو الذي قال إنه القلب هو مركز الإحساس وليس المخ. لم يكن يعرف أرسطو هذيك الأيام فعلا عمل المخ ووظيفته في الجسم. فلما قال هذا الشيء كل من جاء وراءه تبع نفس هذا الخطأ، حتى الأديان نفسها. فهنا سام هاريس ده يقول له حتى من كتبوا الإنجيل لم يعرفوا أن المخ أو العقل كان له دور في الموضوع. ذاك قال له صحيح، لكن يعرفون ما هو علاقة العقل في البتاع والفسلقة هذه كلها.
We've already established in some tenuous way that things that nobody understands could have evolved into these stories in some way that would be useful, but nobody knew what they were writing when they wrote it, right?
The problem is that you can, so again, this has been focused through the lens of your attachment to Christianity largely, but Hinduism is a completely different set of stories, right? And many of them, the logic, the emotional logic, the psychological import, many of them have the opposite valence from any Christian story you would tell. The whole notion of, like, for instance, the whole notion of good and evil, right, which has such primacy. I mean, you talk about religion being deeper than ethics because ethics just deals with right and wrong, and religion deals with good and evil, right? At bedrock, okay? Good and evil do not have the same meaning in the East. Buddhism and Hinduism do something very different with good and evil.
I'm willing to accept your definitions of good and evil for
no,
the
but I like
argument.
this. Not this. The truth is, there's just not even evil is just ignorance on some level. It's just evil is just.
You haven't met any real evil people if you believe that.
Well, okay, so then all the Hindus and Buddhists are wrong about this. That's a possible claim. I'm just saying that there's over 1 billion people who have a religious system of stories from which they derive all kinds of meaning, to which they're mightily attached, to where we could play the same game of archetypal interpretation and valuing, and yet the cash value with respect to good and evil is irreconcilable with what you get from Christianity.
Look,
but it doesn't have to be interoperable, right?
Well, but the point, my point is, we live in a reality. Presumably, Hinduism is also useful as a set of heuristics.
Has to be
for Hindus, and if Hinduism, as a matter of doctrine and as a matter of the interpretations of the heuristics by the devout in both systems, if Hinduism and Christianity are irreconcilable, right, then there must be a deeper level of reality that explains why they both work, that can't be reducible to Christianity being true or Hinduism being true. Right.
Yeah, look, Sam, there's absolutely nothing.
والكلام يعني شوية بصراحة ملعبك. يعني يقول إنه تعريف الخير والشر في المسيحية يختلف عن الهندوسية أو البوذية مثلا. البوذية الشر عندهم مجرد نوع من أنواع التجاهل، أو الشر بالنسبة لهم هو انعدام الخير فقط، ليس شرا بحد ذاته يعني. فبيقول إنه هناك مستوى أخلاقي قصده هو الذي يعمل على توحيد، أو إنه يجعل الهندوسية تعمل والمسيحية تعمل، كل واحدة في مجال مختلف. مو شرط إنه المسيحية هي فقط الصحيحة أو الهندوسية هي فقط الصحيحة. لكن هناك شيء في القاعدة هو الذي يغذي الديانتين يعني نوعا ما.
Wrong with that objection. Like, so this is one of the immense problems, obviously, that actually leads down the road to the kind of nihilism that you were objecting to in the moral landscape. It's like one of the things that Nietzsche said was that's very much apropos to this is that, you know, it's one thing to have your belief system shattered by the observation that there are other belief systems that are incommensurate, that seem to have equal utility. So that's, but it's even worse is that once you make the observation that there are other belief systems that have equal utility, then it can shatter your belief in belief systems themselves. And then you're in the postmodern nihilist landscape, and that's a big problem.
Or you could just be in a more fundamental landscape that subsumes both of those belief systems.
That's fine. Let's hope that can happen.
Yeah.
But that, I would say, that's the landscape that I'm trying to pursue. Now, you said that that I've been approaching this, say, from a Christian perspective in this dialogue, and to some degree that's true, but there are reasons for that. But I would also say, I'm also doing what you recommend doing, because in Maps of Meaning, for example, because you said, well, what about this problem of multiple interpretations of the text?
You wrote Maps of Meaning.
What's that?
You wrote Maps of Meaning. I wrote the moral landscape.
I'm sorry, I must have missed. Sorry. I misspoke. I'm sorry.
هنا الظاهر بدأ يفقد تركيز هذا جوردان بيترسون. قال له أنت كتبت كتاب مابس اوف مينينج أو خرائط المعنى. قام سام هاريس قال له لا، هذا كتابك أنت، أنا كتبت المنظر الأخلاقي، أنت كتبت خرائط المعنى. وقال له أنا آسف جدا. حتى راح أعترف، يقول أنا الظاهر بدأت أتعب.
I'm starting to get tired. But what I tried to address that problem seriously. Like, it's a really big problem. It's the problem of multiple interpretations. It's the postmodern problem, is that there's an infinite number of potential interpretations. Okay, so so what do we do about that? And the answer is, it's something you allude to, I'm sorry, in
واعترف هنا أن هناك مشكلة جدية، أنه هناك الكثير من التفاسير للنص المقدس سواء في المسيحية أو في الإسلام. فعلا هو يعترف أنه هذا مشكلة كبيرة. حتى النص المقدس في الإسلام يعني له آلاف التفاسير، وكل مفسر يعني يضيف من عنده ويخترع من مخيلته والكلام هذا. في الأخير الناس هم اللي يروحون ضحايا في النص.
The moral landscape. And it's part of the basis of your argument why these things need to be grounded in facts. So, because that is part of the answer to the problem of an infinite number of interpretations. In Maps of Meaning, I tried to do what E.O. Wilson recommended, but this was before he wrote his book. I tried to use a consilience approach. So I looked at multiple religious systems. I looked at Christianity. I looked at evolutionary biology. I looked at philosophy. I looked at neuroscience. And I looked at the literature on emotion and motivation and the literature on play that was very nicely delineated by Piaget. And I tried to see where there was a pattern that repeated across all dimensions of evaluation, which is exactly what you do, for example, when you use your 5 senses to detect something real in the world. And that's what Wilson recommended, was a consilience approach. And so my proposition was, if it manifests itself here and here and here and here and here, 6 places, and it's always the same pattern, then the probability that that pattern exists independent of my delusional interpretation is radically decreased.
Yeah, my claim, however, is that many of these things don't repeat. In fact, they're flipped.
أعتقد يقصد إنه حتى لو يعني كثرة التفسيرات، لكن نحاول أن نجمع الأشياء المشتركة. كل ما نجد أشياء مشتركة أكثر في التفسيرات هذه، إذن نستنتج أنه هذا الشيء المفسر هو صحيح. يتهيألي هو يقصد هذا الشيء، ما أدري، هو كلامه ملعبك شوية أيضا.
Around completely based on different religious assumptions in different cultures. And again, I mean, I would just argue, I mean, we can table this for another discussion.
I was trying to dispense with those.
But I'm just saying something as fundamental as evil doesn't run through all these cultures and all these religious traditions.
Then how can you make the claim that everyone would agree with your description of what constitutes bad in the beginning of the moral landscape?
It would be, it's not evil in the sense that it's, there's bad and good. There's better and worse. There's better and worse.
Either universal,
so can we
Sam, there's either universal moral intuitions or there aren't.
Yes, no.
Which is it?
Yes, no.
So
but evil,
are some moral intuitions universal?
Yes, no.
هنا سؤال قوي، يعني هل هناك حدس جمعي للبشر كلهم؟ قصده هل هناك يعني عرف ما بين أدمغة البشر يستطيعون أن يتفقون على شيء معين على أنه شر أو خير؟ الواضح أنه نعم، البشر اتفقوا على أشياء كثير في هذه الحياة على أنها شر، وأشياء أخرى على أنها خير. قد تختلف يعني شوية هنا أو هنا، لكن بالأخير هناك إجماع، يعني نوع من الإجماع ما بين البشر على أشياء أساسية في الأخلاق بصراحة. خلينا نشوف سام هاريس إيش قال.
I would think, listen, we are just human beings, right? We're human beings first before we're Hindu or Buddhist or Christian. I mean, we all get indoctrinated into the religion of our parents. This is an artifice that's laid on top of something far deeper. That should be obvious. Right. So we're trying to get down to what's deeper.
Okay, so there may be some moral universals.
Sure, I think.
Okay, Jordan.
Is
it possible that there are some moral intuitions that are highly specific to particular traditions and wouldn't translate over to others?
Yes.
Okay.
It's highly probable because there would be environment-specific adaptations, like the environment-specific tool use of chimpanzees.
Right. Or maybe it's not even the environment. Maybe it's the self-consistency of the belief pattern in question. So
I would put that in the broader environment. It might be a consequence of the particularities of that culture. There would be things that, look, think about it like languages. Like many, and this is kind of an answer to the problem that you laid out, which is a real problem. I'm not trying to deny the problem. If you look at, there's a lot of languages, lots of languages. Look at how different they are. It's like, yeah, at some levels of analysis, they're fundamentally different. And at other levels of analysis, they're fundamentally the same, which is how we know that they're languages. And you could say, well, there's a very large number of stories. It's like, yes, there are. But the fact that there's enough commonality across the class of stories, the set of all possible stories, so that we can identify what constitutes a story. And I would say that there's enough commonality across the set of all possible good stories that we can say, well, here's a canonical good story, which is, by the way, what you do at the beginning of the moral landscape. Because you say, this is horrible, this is good. We should move from what's horrible to what's good. Say, yes, you've taken a fragment of the universal story and you've made it the axiom of your moral system, which is what you should do. But the claim that I think is not helpful, even though I understand it, is that that's purely a claim of like of unmediated fact. It's like, no, there is no unmediated fact.
There is, yes, even fact.
واعتقد يعني جوردان بيترسون ده يقول له انه الاخلاق العالميه قد تختلف هنا وهنا، بس هو شبه له اياه بمثال جميل انه الاخلاق مثل اللغات العالميه قد تختلف، لكن بالاخير يعني لو تحلل اللغات كلها في الاخير كلها تتساوى تقريبا في المعاني. يعني هناك ضمائر، هناك قواعد معينه، هناك افعال يجب أن تشترك فيها كل هذه اللغات. نفس الشيء الأخلاق، حتى لو اختلفت من بيئة إلى بيئة أو من ثقافة إلى ثقافة، لكن في الأساسات تتساوى أو تتشابه. فأعطاه يعني أعطاه مثال بالنسبة هو سام هاريس يعني ألف قصة داخل كتابه اللي هو لاندسكيب، وأعطاه مثال عليه.
Aren't unmediated facts. I mean, you can't judge something to be factual without presupposing the validity of certain intuitions, like that causes precede events, you know, so or causes precede their effects, and those intuitions could be wrong. I mean, we could live in a teleological universe where everything is getting pulled into the future by some kind of attractor, right? And our notion of causation is totally backwards. That remains to be discovered, and we would use other intuitions to make that discovery. But again, you do pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and that there's no branch of science or mathematics or anything fundamental, logic, that can get away from that.
Right. Well, and that's another place.
But given that picture, that doesn't render all intuitions equally respectable.
Absolutely.
Right? Someone says, well, I happen to have an intuition that Joseph Smith saw those golden tablets and they were, and Mormonism is true. That's not the sort of intuition we're talking about here. Your intuition doesn't grant you insight into history.
What we could say.
وهنا يعني حاول يرد عليه سام هاريس، يعني قال له الحدس يعني أو العرف البشري يعني حتى لو أخطأ يعني هناك أيضا حدوث أخرى قد يعني تعوض عنه أو تتعرف على الحقيقة. وأعطاه مثل عن اللي هو نبي المورمون اللي هو جوزيف سميث. فقال له إذا أنت يعني حدسك يقول لك إنه جوزيف سميث هذا فعلا نبي من الله وأنه هو المسيح المنتظر، فهذا حدس خاطئ. يجب أن تستخدم أنواع أخرى من الحدس حتى تتعرف على خطأك.
And this would be an elaboration of Brett's point, is that like moral intuitions of the sort that you're describing have different zones of relevance. So there's some things that would only work as an intuition in very delimited areas of time and space, let's say. There's a hierarchy of moral intuitions, and the more profound the intuition, the more it works as a universal truth across context, just like in a scientific truth. So scientific truth is more profound. This is why the postmodernist readings of Thomas Kuhn are wrong, is that the idea that protons are real is really fundamental, because no matter what span of time and space that you pick, you're going to encounter protons. It works everywhere. And then with moral intuitions, let's say, or moral a prioris, you have the same issue, is some of them are so delimited that they only work here and now. And those are sort of impulsive, low-level intuitions, a whim even. But some of them are really, really deep. The ones, for example, the one that orients you to make the claim that you made in the moral landscape, the hellish story is bad and the heavenly story is good,
Right.
I would say that's one of the deepest, most context-independent moral intuitions, which is kind of the claim you make, except you claim that it's
and again,
fact.
back to my fundamental concern here in the difference with respect to the difference with how we talk about these things. To call that thing.
وما أدري يعني شو قصده بالضبط جوردان بيترسون. يعني كلامه كان يعني شوية ما أدري عميق زيادة عن اللزوم، ما أدري، بس هو بيشبه إنه هناك أشياء في العمق جدا تكون حقيقية، مثل البروتونات مثلا، ويقول إن البروتون هذا شيء حقيقي، يعني لا أحد يستطيع أن ينكر، لأنه في أي حيز زماني ومكاني تلاقيه موجود هذا البروتون، إذن هو حقيقة. قال نفس الشيء اللي خلاك أنت يا سام هاريس تحكم على القصة الجهنمية على أنها شر، والقصة الفردوسية على أنها خير. هذا اللي فهمته، ما أدري إذا هو يقصد شيء ثاني.
God is fine. That's a God I have no problem with, right? But that's not how most people most of the time are using the word. And there's something misleading about that. And that worries me.
Yeah, well, if the claim that you're making is that we're all deeply confused about the nature of divinity and ultimate reality, it's like, yes,
well,
clearly.
Well, another thing we agree on.
I also don't disagree. Look, I've never made the claim that what I'm talking about is like what other people are talking about. I mean, it is in some ways, but I've not made that claim, so I don't see why that's a justifiable criticism. It's like,
well, no, it's a criticism with respect to the very likely effects of communicating in that way. Because I see the results of that communication. It's a little bit, I mean, this is going to sound more invidious than it is, but this is the kind of thing that I get into with Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
Deepak and I agree about a lot.
I think it's more invidious than it sounds, actually.
Yeah. Well, you're not wearing rhinestone glasses. If you graduate to that, we'll have more of a problem. But it's Deepak clearly wants to let his audience believe that everything they're into is on some level justifiable by his reading of quantum spookiness, right? Yeah. So it's all you know, if you want to go out and just buy a lot of crystals and think they're going to heal you, it has something to do with quantum nature of reality.
Absolutely nothing like me.
No, but I
هو قال له يعني انه انت تعريفك للإله يعني كأنه يقصد انه في نوع من الخداع الخفي، يعني قال له انت يعني كأنه يقول له بس مو بصراحة، يعني قال له مثل ديباك شوبرا هذا اللي هو النصاب هذا، قال له انه هذا يحاول انه يفهم الناس انه اي شيء في هذا الكون انت مهتم فيه، هناك صلة ما بينك وبينه يعني على المستوى الكمومي. فيقول له يعني ديباك شوبرا يقول لي جمهوره انه اذهبوا اشتروا بعض الكريستالات، والكريستالات هذه اذا انت عجبتكم اذا هناك صلة خفية ما بينك وبين هذه الكريستالات ستعمل نوعا ما في المستوى الكمومي وسيكون هناك اتصال وكلام فارغ. فجوردان بيترسون قال له أنا مو مثل ديباك شوبرا لا تشبهني بهذا الرجل.
I think Deepak could say if I got his back to the wall, Deepak could honestly say, listen, I've never said anything about crystals, right? I'm not selling crystals. I've never said they work, but it's the way in which he's failing to make the clear differentiation. The fact that it takes you 20 minutes to admit that a lot of the Bible is filled with barbaric nonsense.
I don't think it took me 20 minutes to admit that.
Well, yeah. We'll go to the tape on that.
These things matter. These things matter. And
I'm just saying, it's like you own
look,
it.
if you're saying that there's a danger.
If you're in a parish of 1, or in a parish of 1,000, or a parish of 100,000, but not in the parish that has anything in common with the Bible thumpers in my country who think that Jesus is very likely coming back in their lifetime because he never died, and he's going to judge the living and the dead, and there will be a resurrection and hellfire and all the rest. If that's not the game you're playing at all, own it.
هنا يعني سام هاريس كان يقول له إذا أنت ملحد قول، اعترف، بدل أنك تخترع دين خاص فيك، تعترف وتخترع يعني تعاريف خاصة بالإله، خاصة بك أنت لوحدك، ولا تشترك فيها مع أحد آخر. اعترف بالكلام هذا. قال له أنا يعني إذا بتروح لكنيسة مثلا وتعاليم هذه الكنيسة، لا تعترف بالتعاليم الكنيسة اللي موجودة في المدينة تبعي التي تقول أن عيسى لم يمت أو المسيح لم يمت وسوف يعود قبل أن نموت كلنا وسوف يحكم الأرض وتقوم القيامة. قال إذا أنت ما تعترف بهذا الدين، إذا أنت بصراحة لست مسيحيا. يعني هو هذا ما يقصده. يعني إذا أنت لست مسيحيا فاعترف، own it. فهنا جوردان بيترسون راح يزعل شوية.
Why are you all applauding about that? It's like, what do you mean own it? It's like, I already made my claim. It's like, I'm not playing a religious fundamentalist game. So what's all the applause about? So I don't understand that. And own it, it's like, I was as clear as I possibly could be when I delineated my answer to the question. People say, well, what do you mean by God?
Someone once asked you if Jesus
you
was
want a 1 second answer?
But no.
Well, forget it, man.
George, wait a minute, hold on.
I think we can actually.
This is a complicated
one
problem.
second. No, yeah. I don't want to end on a note of acrimony. But someone once asked you whether you thought Jesus was literally resurrected, and you said it would take me 40 hours to answer that question. Okay, that's the kind of thing I'm responding to here. You don't need to do that if you have a clear-cut answer to that question. And
I don't have a clear-cut answer to that question.
And if you don't, that connects with many other things that we still have to talk about.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, because that.
It isn't obvious in the biblical account that Christ was literally resurrected. So it's not simple. This is not simple.
قال أنت في أحد سألك هل فعلا المسيح resurrected، يعني قام من الأموات؟ فأنت جاوبت هذا الشخص أنك تحتاج إلى 40 ساعة لكي تجيب عن هذا السؤال. فقال له أنت واحدة من الاثنين، يا أما يكون عندك جواب واضح جدا وتقوله في دقيقة ولا تحتاج 40 ساعة، يا أما أنه ما عندك جواب. يعني بالأخير كان يقول له أنت ما أدري دينك يختلف عن الدين الذي نعرفه نحن. يعني أنت ما أدري إيش دينك بالضبط، هل أنت ملحد، هل أنت خصوصا في البداية قال له هل تعترف بوجود الله؟ وقام قال له I act like he exists، يعني أنا فقط أتصرف وكأنه موجود. هذا تعريف إلحادي بصراحة.
No, but if the question is, do you think he? Well, let's put it probabilistically. I mean, anything's possible. I'll tell you that it's possible that he was physically resurrected. I mean, it's even possible.
Wait a second, I didn't
with respect
say
to quantum
that he
mechanics.
was.
The point is,
I said it would take me 40 hours to answer the question. I didn't say that he was.
Well, go ahead. How's this for an answer? Almost certainly not.
قال لي ليش أنت محتاج 40 ساعة لكي تجاوب على هذا السؤال؟ جاوب بوضوح. almost certainly not، يعني لا في الأخير، لم يبعث، لم يقوم من الأموات، انتهى الموضوع. هناك فرق يهودية ومسيحية تقول بهذا الكلام مثل الأبيونين.
What's wrong with that answer?
You want?
I think I know what's wrong with that answer.
خسارة في النص، خسارة خانة اليك.
It's a fine answer, and people have been giving that answer for a very long period of time, but the idea doesn't seem to go away.
Okay,
So,
but that's evidence of what exactly?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you one thing it's an evidence of. There's a deep idea.
Let this be the doorway to our next 3-hour conversation.
Sure,
Because clearly
sure.
So
Sure.
we have 10 minutes left.
Okay. Oh, well then, let's answer that question in 10 minutes.
So wait, I want you to trust me here. You for whatever reason decided I should moderate, so I want you to trust me. For one thing,
you've been doing yeoman's work.
Sam, I really would like to answer that question. But I'm trying to figure out. People seem to think that I'm trying to evade the question. It's like I'm not evading the question. I'm trying to figure it out. People have been arguing about this for 2,000 years. It's like it's not simple.
But that's a symptom of the effect of religious dogmatism for 2,000 years.
No, it's not.
okay,
It's partly a symptom of that. It's also partly a symptom of the idea.
قال له كيف تريدني أجاوب على هذا السؤال بكل سهولة؟ يعني هذا سؤال يعني ظلوا 2000 سنة يتناظرون ويتناقشون في هذا السؤال يعني، ولم يجدوا إجابة لحد الآن. سام هاريس قال له هذا أحد أعراض الدغمائية، هذا ما نتكلم عنه من أول الليل، يعني الدغمائية، دوغماتيزم، فإنك يعني شيء ما إله جواب، أو إنه جواب إلا يكون واضح، أنت تلف الدور حوالين، تحاول أن تخترع جواب، تحاول أن تجد، وحتى لما تجد جواب لا يكون مقنعا. وفي الأخير المشكلة المصيبة أنه هناك ناس يذهبون ضحايا من أجل هذا الشيء، ناس يحرقون، يعني محاكم التفتيش قامت على مثل هذه الأسئلة. كل الضحايا التي ذهبت يعني لمدة 800 عام بسبب أسئلة مثل هذه وبسبب نقاشات مثل هذه، يعني أحرقوا وتم خوزقتهم وتم سجنهم مدى الحياة بدون حتى محاكمة. يعني لما تقرؤون عن السجون في العصور الوسطى في أوروبا شيء مريع، يعني الإنسان ممكن يترمي في السجن وما يدري شو تهمته، يعني ولا محاكمة، يقعد يمكن 30-40 سنة. هناك قصة عن شخص يعني ظل حوالي 30 سنة في السجن بدون محاكمة، ولا يعرف هو أصلا لماذا تم القبض عليه. الكلام هذا في أوروبا طبعا. ولما طلعوه من السجن أفرجوا عنه، قال أنا بصراحة طبعا شاف الدنيا متغيرة والعالم متغير، قال أنا أهلي ما شفتهم من 30 سنة، ما أدري عايشين ميتين ولا أعرف أحد، أنتم طلعيني ليش؟ رجعوني السجن مرة ثانية. ورجع السجن. فيعني مآسي وعذابات حصلت بسبب أسئلة تافهة مثل هذه. والجواب واضح جدا إنه لا، قولوا لا وانتهى الموضوع. بس هذه يعني هذا ما يحاربه سام هاريس بصراحة في كل فلسفاته، يعني الدغمائية بكل ما فيها من أضرار، بكل ما فيها من قسوة، بكل ما فيها من يعني من أضرار وجرائم ارتكبت بسبب هذه الدغمائية المقيتة بصراحة.
Direction of Jesus is clearly an important question, but you've raised a much bigger and more pressing question for the audience, which is whether or not God cares whether they masturbate. So I actually think if we pursue that answer, that we will actually wrap this up in a way that
You
yes.
want to end this on masturbation?
I think we owe it to them too.
Okay.
So give me a little leash.
The floor is yours.
Okay, great. How did I end up here? All right. So here's the question. Let's just figure out if we can determine why God might care if you masturbate, right? So let's suppose that we have a story, a heuristic of some kind that stands in for something. And the story is God is watching. He sees you always. He doesn't want you masturbating, so don't you dare. What happens?
What happens?
Yeah.
Well, it's a rather ineffectual
You sure?
idea. Yeah. Well, I mean,
You
it's,
don't think that story
I
prevented lots
think-
of people from
well,
masturbating?
no, but I think the reality was that you had people masturbating and feeling terrible about it, and you had a whole layer of sexual neurosis that got grafted onto human psychology unnecessarily.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
Christianity has a certain typology of sexual hang-uppery, which you know the tantrics don't have.
So if I understand you correctly, you are agreeing that a certain number of people will have masturbated.
Some
will have
of them
felt
joined the
bad
priesthood
about
and
it.
raped little boys. I mean, that's all
No,
of
let's
a
not
piece.
go there. Let's stick with the.
ليش not go there؟ هو قال له يعني مثلا قصة إنه التهديد الرباني إنه حرام الاستمناء، إذا استمنيت سوف تعذب. فقال قال هذه القصة بحد ذاتها ألم تمنع الكثيرين من الاستمناء؟ فساماريس قال له يعني بالأخير قال له أوكي قد تمنعهم، لكن بالأخير سوف يكبتون هذا الشعور، وهذا شعور طبيعي في الجسم، في الأخير سيؤدي إلى الانفجار، وسيؤدي بالقساوسة أن يغتصبوا الأولاد الصغار في الكنائس. أفحمه قام قال له لا 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 بلاش نذكر هذا الشيء.
The topic. So a certain number of people will have masturbated. They will have thought.
Honestly, it's the same topic. I mean, the taboos around masturbation, the taboos around sexuality prior to marriage, the taboo around divorce, all of the taboo around out of wedlock birth, the ideal of celibacy in the priesthood, all of that is just a diabolical machine of needless sexual conflict and misery.
Hold on.
And but yes, okay.
You have to
So,
take
I
diabolical
saw-
out of there.
How's the whole flood of pornography thing working out for
Okay.
you?
هنا جميل يعني سام هاريس قال يعني بصراحة كل التعاليم الدينية أدت إلى مأساة جنسية لا داعي لها يعني. لماذا هذا الضغط النفسي والتركيز على الجنس وبالأخير أدى إلى مشاكل أكثر ما أدى إلى حلول يعني. جوردان بيترسون يقول له انت مبسوط طبعا الان بكل البورنوغرافي اللي منتشر في الانترنت وفي القنوات هذه كلها.
I will grant you that there is some interpretation that takes supernatural principles and magic and otherworldliness out of the equation here that gets you some wisdom in the heuristic. Yes, if you're masturbating all the time, you're not satisfying your monogamous relationship with your wife or husband.
We don't even need to go there. Let's just...
You're not procreating, and we want children.
Let's just agree that a certain amount of masturbation was prevented by that story, which made people fear the consequence of them engaging in it, which would result in, I'm pretty sure, less masturbation, which means that in seeking a release, which we are physiologically programmed to seek, one might end up looking in a more urgent fashion for a mate.
Right. So
right?
It's are we going to enforce monogamy? Is that
no. So look, I'm trying to take
ما ادري هو يحاول انه يثبت انه منع الاستمناء مثلا شيء جيد، بس طبعا فشل في الشيء هذا. يعني يقول انه احتمال يعني هذه القصة التي هددت من يستمني قد تجعله يعني تلح عليه انه يجد شريك او يتزوج قصده. يعني طيب هذا من يستطيع ان يتزوج، ماذا عن الذي لا يستطيع؟ ما زال صغيرا. يعني هو الرجل بصراحة متى يبدأ الاستمناء؟ في 13 أو 14 يستطيع أن يتزوج في هذا الوقت؟ مستحيل طبعا يتزوج ولد عمره 14 سنة أو 15 سنة أو 16 حتى، مستحيل تزوجهم يعني لمجرد أنهم لا يستمنون. يعني كلام فارغ. فبالعكس قد هذا يدفعهم أنه إذا بطلوا الاستمناء ويحصل لهم كبت، قد يضطرهم أنه يعني يحاولون يفرغونها بطريق غير شرعي. قد يذهبون إلى محلات الدعارة والأشياء هذه. بالعكس منع الاستمناء سيؤدي إلى أضرار أكثر بكثير. بس ما أعتقد أن سام هاريس يعني كان له الوقت إنه يناقش كل هذه المواضيع.
Thank you, Summer. I think there is a way that we can rescue some important part of what both of you are saying that can now be reconciled, and then there's a bitter pill for each of you. I mean, that's just the way this looks to me. So if we can agree that this makes sense actually as a fitness enhancing adaptation, that this story would result in people behaving in a way that might result in them marrying early, might result in them reproducing earlier than they would otherwise, right? Then we can understand it as mechanistic, and we can understand what you said, that, you know, maybe God would care about whether or not people masturbate, because God is a metaphor for some set of stories that gets you to behave in an adaptive fashion. But the point for you then would be that Sam is arguing with reason we can decide whether or not to employ this story at this moment, whether it's a good idea for us to urgently reproduce as quickly as possible, which, for example, increases the size of the population of the planet, whereas delaying reproduction keeps the rate of population growth down, and might be a better choice for a moment in history when we have 7.5 billion people on the planet. So in some sense, what I think I see is the religious story itself makes some kind of sense if you adhere to it in a manner that you are obligated and have no tools with which to question it, then you will miss the fact that at this moment you might want to throw that story out.
The problem is it doesn't make sense, and this is a problem with these heuristics in general.
أخيرا سؤاله جميل هذا المودريتور. يعني قال يعني قد نمنع الاستمناء في قديم الزمان لكي نشجع على الزواج المبكر والخلفة المبكرة لكي يزيد عدد السكان، لكن في زمننا هذا قد نشجع الاستمناء فقط لكي نقلل التعداد السكاني في العالم. نحن أكثر من 7.5 مليار أو سنصل إلى 8 مليار، فلماذا هنا ممنوع وهنا؟
It doesn't make sense for the right reason. And that's why it's not a reliable guide given other changes in the world. With everything changing, you want to be making sense for the right reason. You don't want it so useful fictions have to be retired at a certain point. Useful truths stay true. I mean, because they're based on your engagement with reality. And so to take your point about pornography, which I think is totally valid, you could have a completely rational conversation in terms of human psychology and sociology and what you want society to look like about the corrosive nature of pornography, right? That's not, you don't have to be a Victorian prude to worry that there might be something wrong with the infinite availability of pornography to 13-year-olds and above, right? I mean, that's I don't know what's
وسام هاريس هنا يرد على نقطة جوردان بيترسون إنه هل أنتم فرحين بانتشار البورنو هذا في الإنترنت وفي محلات الفيديو وكل نفس الشيء. طيب يعني في قديم الزمان لم يكن إنترنت ولم يكن كان على الطبيعة، كان منتشر، كان هناك عبيد، كان هناك محلات دعارة، كان في كل شيء. يعني الجنس هذا لا يمكن يعني لا يمكن القضاء عليه، انتهى الموضوع. هذا أحد خصائص البشر وأحد سلوكيات البشر وغرائزه. الطريقة الوحيدة هذه هو توعية البشر على أنه التوازن في الأخير، سوي كل شيء لكن بتوازن، انتهى الموضوع. هذا رأيي، ما أدري.
generation of human beings we're raising in the current environment. It's quite worrisome, actually. But again, you don't have to invoke mythology to do that. And I would say the temptation to invoke mythology to say, well, you actually,
So how do you do it?
Poseidon really gets pissed off when you masturbate.
How do you do it? How do you do it?
We don't have a mechanism.
We have no mechanism for controlling
that. Talk about the effects on human relationships and your own mind and your own intention and the way you view other people.
Sam, that barely works for sex ed. It barely works for condom education.
Well, what was that?
It barely works. Like those sorts of educational interventions to stop that kind of fundamental behavior have very little effect.
Well,
people aren't nearly.
To our Kroger associates, for the long hours and late nights, for the miles traveled and the shelves restocked, for doing so much more than your job. Everyone at the Kroger family of brands says thank you.
As amenable to behavioral changes as a consequence of rational educational interventions as you might hope. I mean, and that's part and parcel of very broad clinical literature.
They're not as amenable to dogmatic intrusions either. I mean,
they are, and that might be a problem. And there are problems with that.
Well, no, because they're again, this is just
like the terror of God in that situation.
All going in. The problem is that this. Even if you could make the case that a dogmatic attachment to one or another religion was better, all things considered, than being truly secular and truly rational, right? It's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to every next thing we find out. I mean, that's why it's like you could have said, you go back, 200 years before the germ theory of disease, you could have said, well, all of these dietary taboos and taboos around, hand washing and foot washing, it's actually very wise. The wisdom of the germ theory of disease was sort of built into our scripture, and people were survived. There was a kind of differential level of survival based on those who really adhered to these practices and those who didn't.
وهنا يعني جاب نقطة طبعا الآن نحن نعيشها يعني مثل ما يفعل المسلمون أيضا، يعني إنه قصة لما جاء الفيروس والوباء فالمسلمون قالوا نحن هذا الشيء موجود لدينا في الدين، ونحن نتوضأ 5 مرات ونحن نغتسل والكلام هذا. فهو نفس النقطة يقولها الآن سام هاريس، يعني يقول أنك ممكن تدعي أن نصوصك وأدبياتك الدينية شجعت على غسل اليدين والنظافة والأشياء هذه من أجل نظرية الجراثيم، وأن الناس الذين فعلوا هذا الشيء كان أكثر تجنبا للجراثيم والموت بالأوبئة يعني.
Okay, but it's blind to the actual variables. Like there's nothing special about shellfish necessarily, or there's nothing special about pork necessarily, or whatever the example is. And once you get the actual variables in hand, then the whole edifice comes crashing down, and then you really just want to understand the variables that work.
Look, I don't know if the whole edifice comes crashing down, and it isn't clear to me that you want to claim that, because one of the things you did say in the moral landscape, and I think this is associated with your interest in spirituality, is that there is some baby mixed in with the bathwater. And the question is, how do we distill that out?
Yeah.
And the objections that you're raising are the objections that are, look how difficult it is to do the distillation. It's like, yeah, absolutely, man. And it's not like I'm a foe of the Enlightenment. I think you Enlightenment types, and I put Pinker in the same camp, radically overestimate the degree to that was a casus sui. It's like everyone was barbaric and superstitious until 1750, and some miracle occurred, and now we all became enlightened. Like there was a lengthy developmental.
هنا يدعي جوردان بيترسون إنه حركة التنوير اللي حصلت في أوروبا لم تأتي فجأة، إن كل الناس كانوا عمي وفجأة أصبحوا متنورين. يعني بيقول إنه هناك تطور تدريجي جدا عبر الزمن، يعني بيحاول إنه أعتقد يقصد إنه الأديان لها دور خفي ولو بسيط جدا في حركة التنوير أيضا. طبعا كلامه يتهيألي مو مضبوط. حركة التنوير قامت على هدم صرح الدين، هذه حركة التنوير. حركة التنوير أتت أزاحت الدين بكل ما فيه وقزمته، يعني أوكي حافظت عليه في النهاية لكن كقزم صغير مثل أي تحفة في البيت، يعني ولم يعد له أي دور في الحياة السياسية أو العلمية أو الاجتماعية، أو يعني هذا الملاحظ في الدول العلمانية.
Clearly, we all haven't. I mean, this is hence our complaining about the problem. And most of the world hasn't had the Enlightenment yet.
True.
On some level.
Look, I'm no foe to the Enlightenment, but I think that it had a lengthy developmental history that is radically underplayed by the people who ground it purely in rationality.
It's clearly still developing. My point is, we should be able to agree that having a worldview guided by a continuous, honest engagement with reality insofar as we can apprehend it is better than having a worldview solidified or anchored to unchanging ideas that were born of people who had none of our present tools, none of our present insights into anything.
Well, it depends on the principles. It depends on the principles. Like I would say, there are situations where that clearly applies, but I think there are broad principles. And again, we should probably stop with this, I think.
Yep, we're about there.
Because I'm starting to get tired. I'm sure everyone else in here is starting to get tired. Well, I'm starting to get tired anyways. And I mean, there are principles, there are higher order principles of the sort that I described that you also appear to rely on in the moral landscape, the idea of these profound moral intuitions.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm after, is what are these profound moral intuitions and what is their source? And like, I'm also perfectly willing to make the claim, and have in fact in detail, that these moral intuitions, see, this is a place where we differ a little bit. It's like, and maybe we can go here tomorrow night. See, it seems to me that your argument is the facts are laying out there and you can extract out value from them. And we already described why you want to do that, because you want to at least not move into the nihilistic direction, and you want to ground them in some sort of reality. It's like, fair enough. But the thing is that the facts as they are have been around for a very, 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 very long time, right? Let's say 3.5 billion years, the entire expanse of life. And it's the operation of those facts on life that has produced the a priori implicit interpretive structures that guide our interaction with the facts. And those a priori implicit structures that have emerged out of this evolutionary course have a structure that mediates between us and the facts that cannot be derived from the facts at hand. And so then the question is, what is that structure? And it's in both of our interests to get that right, because you use that as the source of moral intuition. It's like, right, agreed, that's the source of moral intuition. So, well, and
clearly we need to table this for tomorrow.
طبعا كلام جوردان بيترسون عميق جدا وملعبك بصراحة. بس المفهوم من كلامه انه هو يريد أن يعرف ما هو مصدر العرف الإنساني. عندما يتفق كل البشر على شيء معين، على أنه حقيقة أو على أنه خير أو شر، ما هو مصدر هذا العرف أو هذا الحدس؟ يريد أن يعرف ما هو مصدر هذا الشيء. فهو يقول أنه هنا نقطة الاختلاف بيني وبين سام هاريس، أنه هو يقول أنه اعتباطيا انه اوكي، يعني الحدس هذا مصدر العقل وانتهى الموضوع، لكن انا لا، اريد ان اعرف بالذات، يعني هل هو مصدر الدين فعلا؟ هل الدين اتى لكي يعطينا اساسيات هذا الحدس، ام يعني طبعا ما ادري ليش يريد يدخل الدين في النص. واضح جدا انه ليس الدين لم ياتي باي شيء جديد، فقط يعني أخذ عادات وتقاليد وأخلاق كانت موجودة ونسبها إلى نفسه، ووصايا موسى 10 يعني أتت يعني وتبنت كل العادات والتقاليد والأخلاق الموجودة في هذه الأيام بخيرها وشرها. حتى الأخلاق الشريرة اللي كانت موجودة ذيك الأيام تبنتها الأديان. مش استفدنا احنا؟ طيب ما هي الفائدة من الأديان هذه إذا حتى تبنت الشر وشجعت وقننت الشرور هذه، مثل الاستعباد والسبي وقتل المخالف وقتل من فقط يريد أن يعرف الحقيقة ويتساءل يقتل أيضا، وقتل الفتاة التي ليست عذراء وكل الكلام الفارغ هذا لحد الآن نحن نعاني منه.
Tomorrow night, but that's a good.
Guys, I'm just
put that on
going
the
to
list,
interrupt you. You guys, let's give Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, and Brett Weinstein a huge hand. Let's go.
Thank you.
طيب هذه نهاية الحوار الجميل هذا. طبعا هناك جزء ثاني أكملوا هم الحوار. الجزء الثاني ما أدري، أنا أتذكر شفته بس كان عميق زيادة عن اللزوم حسب ما أذكر يعني. فأتمنى يعني أنه يكون الحوار هذا مفيد و ما في كل الشوائب التي نجدها في الحوارات الأخرى وكل النرجسية والمركزية النفسية التي تظهر في حواراتنا نحن بصراحة، يعني ما بيننا وبين بعض. كل من يريد أن ينتصر وكل من يريد أن يستخدم موضوع اللي تغلبه العبه أو خذوهم بالصوت والكلام هذا كله، في الآخر تنقلب سباب وشتيمة وضرب ومضروب. شكرا أصدقائي، وأنا سأنهي الحلقة هذه ونشوف يعني إذا الجزء الثاني فعلا ما كان عميق لهذه الدرجة وفي أشياء مفيدة ممكن يعني نعرضه لاحقا. شكرا وإلى اللقاء، دمتم بخير.